Hey guys, welcome back to my Quilting 101 series. I hope you've enjoyed it so far. We're kind of in our last step here. Today we're going to talk about washing our quilts. Now I haven't seen a lot of these videos out there, so I wanted to do one because I know that can be one of the most nerve-wracking sections of quilting, is you've taken all this time, created this great quilt, and now you're going to put it in the washing machine. So I have a couple of tips for you. The first tip is to use Shout color catchers, or some kind of color catcher. It doesn't have to be this brand. I like these because I haven't ever had a problem with them, and the reason that you want to do that is because you probably have used a lot of different colors in your quilts and you don't want any of the colors bleeding or anything. So this will stop that from happening. If you have a quilt that has really high contrast, I have thrown in a couple before. I'm not sure if it's even really necessary, but just like in case, right? The other thing I like to use Dreft. Any kind of detergent for delicates is a great option for quilts. It won't break down your fabrics quite as quickly. They'll last a little bit longer and that kind of thing. So I've just always used Dreft. I use this on, for our baby stuff. It's just nice, delicate, but there's lots of different options out there. Just get something that's not super harsh or has a lot of chemicals or whatever, and that'll help your quilts last longer. Now my last suggestion as far as washing goes is to be careful about what kind of washing machine. Now this is sort of a, something you may or may not be able to change. I wouldn't necessarily suggest using a top-loading washing machine with the agitator in it. I have had a friend who has had more than one, I think 3, if I'm recalling correctly, but get ripped up by her agitator, and it's mainly because the quilts can get caught underneath there or caught on the little agitator pieces, and then it just gets twisted over and over for however long you're washing it for, and then not good. Not a good situation to have happen to your quilts. I particularly have a front loading machine. It doesn't have an agitator in it. I know there's some top load machines now that don't have agitators. I don't think it matters which kind you use in that respect. Just probably not going to want to put your quilt in if you have an agitator washing machine. You're going to want to look for an alternative way. Even hand washing would be better than sticking it in a washing machine with an agitator. I would hate to see your beautiful creations get ruined. So that's my first tip. The second one is to wash your quilts in cold water. That's going to help with the bleeding. It's also going to help the shrinkage a little bit be a little bit more even and not quite as much. I wouldn't probably throw a quilt in on hot water unless you needed like some kind of sanitary situation with your quilt and that kind of thing. I just like to wash it on a delicate cycle with cool water, delicate detergent, and if possible a color catcher. Now when I wash them the first time, I always use these. If it's a second or third washing, I usually won't continue to use these because usually within the first or second washing then most of the color kind of gets out. If you're worried about it, throw one in because better safe than sorry in my opinion. But those are my main tips for washing your quilt. So let's go and I'll show you what I set my machine to and get washing our quilt, and we'll see what happens. Alright guys, so we are upstairs in my laundry room right now. Now I have front-loading washing machines, and as I mentioned, I've found that those are really helpful when you're washing quilts. Without an agitator, it really helps to not tear your quilt apart. Now I do have one correction to make. I thought that a friend of mine who had a top-loading machine also had an agitator in hers. She said she does not have an agitator. She has kind of more of a circle in the bottom of hers, and she thinks that her quilt fabric is actually getting caught up in that circle, and then her quilts are getting torn apart. So just something to take into consideration when you're going to wash your quilt. You certainly don't want your new masterpiece to be ruined just because you've needed to wash it. So I really do like these front loading machines. I've never had a problem washing my quilts with them. If you don't have something like that, maybe you have a friend who you can borrow their washing machine, or you can take it somewhere and have it laundered for you. But this is a new quilt that I just made recently and I haven't washed it yet, so I'm going to go ahead and use my Dreft laundry detergent. I'm not going to use very much of this because this is brand new and clean, and really all I'm trying to do is just crinkle it up and get my spray basting out because I like to spray baste. I am going to throw in one Shout color catcher because I want to make sure that my fabric isn't bleeding. Now as you can see here on this quilt, I've got some really dark and bright colors. So I've got this red and blue and green, and then it's sitting right next to this white, and I certainly don't want any of it bleeding onto that. So we're going to make sure that we use a color catcher. I usually use a color catcher anyways, just in case, because I really don't want my fabrics bleeding, especially the first time that you wash your quilt. So what I'm going to go ahead and do is kind of unfold this guy, put him in my washer, and then I'll show you what settings I use. So I'm just going to unfold my quilt. And we're gonna shove it all in here. And I'd only wash one quilt at a time. And then I'm gonna go ahead and throw in my color catcher. Shut the door. All right, so I'm gonna go ahead and add a little bit of detergent. Now I don't put too much in there, really to the lowest line on my machine. Now, of course, your machine might be different than mine, but for this one, since it's the first time I'm washing, I'm just going to pick either the Delicates or the Speed Wash. And then for water temperature, I leave it at cold, spin is medium, and soil level, I just, move over all the way to the light. That way, I'm not having, you know, it's not really all that dirty. Now, if it were to be dirty and I needed to wash it, I would go ahead and go with a warm, and then, you know, soil level as appropriate. That just can change your temperature on your washer, so you'll just need to see what works with your washer. I prefer to wash my quilts on either cold or warm, but I usually don't do hot water. So, and then, like I said, you got the color catcher in, the delicate fabric, and then all we have to do is start it. Now I'll meet you back here when it's done, and we'll put it in the dryer. Okay, so my quilt is coming out of my washing machine, and I'm just going to go ahead and throw it in the dryer. And I am going to add a fabric softener just because I like them to be nice and soft. Cleaned out my lint guard. We're going to shut that. And then for this, I just put it on either Delicates or just actually cotton normal works really well. It's a normal drying level, and then mine automatically sets the time. The temperature is at medium, and I like to kind of have it warm in there because it helps make your fabric shrink a little bit and you get that nice crinkle to your quilt. So all we're going to do is start this, and then I'll meet you back here when it's done, and we'll see how it turned out. So I think it's always a little bit normal to get kind of nervous when you first put your quilt in the wash, but as you can see, we don't have any color bleeding. We've got nice, bright, crisp colors, and all we really did was clean and crinkle up our quilt so it's nice and soft, and now we can go and put it down in the family room and it can get used. So thanks for watching this video. I hope this has helped you guys out. I hope you've enjoyed this whole series, and if you've made anything or I've inspired you in any way, please make sure to tag me on social media or send me a picture via email. I would love to see what you have created. I also wanted to just thank my sponsors, Fat Quarter Shop and Pleasant Home, for just donating some beautiful items for me to give away for you guys as well. And as promised, I do have one more amazing giveaway for the end of my series. This is the Holiday Wishes quilting book, and it's by Sherry Falls. She's one of my most favorite quilters of all time. She makes the most beautiful patterns. This book is chock full of great projects. So if you want to enter to win this, I'll put a link to my blog below, and you just need to head over there and enter to win. So I hope you enjoyed this video series. I hope it's helped you out. If you have any questions, you're always welcome to email me, and I will be doing some more video tips and tricks and projects and kinds of things like that. I just wanted to get this Quilting 101 series done because I've had so many questions from you guys on how to quilt and how to get started. So I hope it's inspired you, and thank you so much for watching, and I will see you for the next one.